Are we ready or not?
Go ahead.
We're good, Nick?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready, Dennis? We'll begin.
Yep. Let's go.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 1st meeting of the Board of Education. We'll need a roll call. Ms. Lees, can you please take roll call?
Yes. Mr. Sanders?
Here.
Mrs. Nagler?
Present.
Mrs. Guevara?
Here.
Mr. Breitweiser?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Next is absent.
Okay.
Okay.
With that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I will be happy to lead it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'll need a motion 1.4 to adopt tonight's agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And I'll need a motion 1.5 to approve the board meeting minutes of May 18th, 2020.
I'll make
I'd like
that
to make a
motion.
motion that the board approve the meeting minutes of May 18th.
Second.
Is there any discussion or any issues with the draft? I had none.
No, it looked good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And before we begin with presentations, because I know everyone's so excited to begin, let me just read this statement that this meeting of the Board of Education of the Chester Union Free School District is being held live with members and others speaking at remote locations. This meeting is available to be viewed live via link that can be found on the district's webpage. This meeting is also being recorded and may be viewed later, and a transcript of this meeting will be available later via a link on the district website. Cameras are on for tonight's meeting, so the speakers will be visible when viewing this meeting online. However, speakers may also present documents that may be viewed during their presentations. There will be no public participation during these meetings, but questions or comments may be directed to our district clerk, Ms. Deborah Lease, and they'll be presented to the Board of Education at a later time. All meeting participants are asked to mute their microphones when they're not speaking to reduce background noise. And with that, I believe we can start presentations.
We're good to go now.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay. All right, we'll pick up with presentations. You think that's fine, Dennis?
Yep.
I think we recorded the whole beginning part, so. There he is. All right, so with presentations tonight, we're going to start off 2.1 with Ms. O'Hara.
There's Dennis.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know where that echo is coming from, but I think we're good to go now.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay.
All right, we'll pick up with
Okay, I'm not hearing an echo now, so I'm gonna start. Sounds like it's resolved. Okay, so good evening, Mr. Zambetz, members of the Board of Education, Mr. Petrolak, and the Chester community who are watching tonight. Welcome to June, everyone. I'm going to begin this evening's presentation addressing some of the updates outlined in my report, and I'll begin with student participation and engagement and parent communication. So progress reports were completed for all students and mailed home on May 20th. Student participation and engagement in remote instruction for each content and specialist area was scored on a scale of 1 to 4, 4 being highly engaged, 3 engaged, 2 limited engagement, and 1 no engagement. So as far as those with no engagement, if there are, we are continuing to monitor daily participation in all areas of instruction. If our second phase of contact efforts are unsuccessful and the student and or family continues to be non-responsive, beyond 1 week. Second phase being the teacher was unsuccessful, it's gone to the main office and continues to be unsuccessful. Ms. Ringel then contacts Marikey for support, and this organization has been extremely successful in getting information to us on recent changes in family dynamics, as well as supporting families that are in need. In regard to parent communication, our weekly announcement videos have been shared on the website, social media, and directly to parents through CES parents through a blast and email link. So these are a collaborative effort from our teachers, our students, as well as their families, which truly demonstrates a pride in learning at CES, as well as the continued focus. And you'll see in some of the pictures, if you've gone through the videos, that kindness keeps coming up, whether it's on sidewalk chalk or a sign. That's one of the emphasis, or it is an emphasis at Chester Elementary School and throughout the district, as well as maintaining a positive growth mindset. So I'll speak to some of the examples we're extremely proud of as a CES team in a few moments, but I just wanted to be sure to thank Justin Bourne for his continued efforts on these weekly video announcements. Our most recent announcement included information which will also be sent home in a letter this week, outlining our K-5 special send-off grab and go. During the week of June 15th, our classroom teachers will be there and on the schedule shared in the video, and also again sent out in a letter to wave to our students. We typically, towards the end of the school year, actually on the last day, all the teachers are usually out in the parking lot waving to the students as they go off. And while it's not the last day of school, it is an opportunity for our teachers to be able to say hello to their students in person from a distance, and then also for parents and family members to obtain personal belongings, drop off their instruments, drop off library books. Also, Mrs. Mulvihill will be available on each of the dates to distribute any medications left behind. And we have a very special send-off planned for our 5th grade students who we're extremely proud of as they move on or will be moving on to the academy, and that's scheduled on the 19th. So again, as mentioned in previous board reports, I'm extremely proud of the creativity and perseverance demonstrated by our teachers, students, and families. And I won't share every example included in the video in my report, but I would like to highlight a few of the creativity that I see in instruction and the excitement in student learning. So in honor of Earth Day, we had Mrs. Maggie's kindergarten class learn about recycling. And not everything that we do in remote instruction at the elementary school is on screen. So this is an example. She asked students to create something that made them happy out of recycled materials. So we had everything from a caterpillar to a house, a robot, and even Pokemon World. We, again, continue to celebrate the theme of Be the Eye and Kind. And I've seen that in, let's see, Mrs. Rivera's class. Mia had done a beautiful drawing with chalk, sharing her message, and it was beautiful, strong, and kind. We had other students also do different creations in regard to kindness. So another example, Kayla Murata included a video where she's shown blowing a dandelion with her mom outside, and that's her learning about how seeds are distributed with wind. Mrs. Coffey in 2nd grade is doing a read aloud with Charlotte's Web. And students are sharing their journal entries. We had Ryan Espinal do a mini presentation where he read his journal entry, and then he actually had the illustrations that they were required to do taped on his back, and he did a little spin around surprise at the end of his presentation. And Emma O'Leary in Mrs. Hoplin's class did a presentation that she recorded and shared on ways to stay healthy. So these are all examples that, you know, despite the challenges with remote instruction on all ends, we continue to move forward, and we continue to focus on those skill sets of communication, critical thinking, and collaboration and creativity. The collaboration piece is done with families. Some other examples, we have different opportunities to participate in the special. So phys ed, for example, we had a student, Camden, in Mrs. Corolla's class. He was out there on his rowboat getting some fresh air, getting exercise that way, and Camden put that in his phys ed log. So not everything we have some flexibility in terms of how students upload assignments in the specialist areas. Jalen Foss shared a writing piece thanking doctors and nurses. And then we had Gavin Favaro. This was great. He did a procedural writing piece, and then he uploaded a mini video tutorial on how to accurately pass a soccer ball. And it was real done, and he scored a goal in the video. So that's always good. Mrs. Donick had stop motion animation using Lego. So we had mini movie clips using stop motion animation that were outstanding. Mrs. Ross's fourth grade students were doing experiments on density with eggs, water, and salt. Again, I'm sharing examples where we are providing opportunities off screen that meet the content areas in instruction. Fifth grade students in Mrs. Keglevis' class were researching ways human activities impact the systems of the earth. And they shared out various slides with graphics that were incorporated into their final presentation. And then I'll just share out that this was a great piece. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It wasn't in our last video, but the one before that, Mrs. Downick's art classes did interactive drawings. So they had, they would create an entire scene and the students would be embedded within the scene. So we had students fishing, we had students standing on a rainbow, touching the sun. We had a student weightlifting and another student, I think, hammering a nail. So, and she's getting more in. So I look forward to seeing those.
Yeah,
And,
those were good.
Yeah, they were really impressive. And one other example, I know Mrs. Cameron just joined a kindergarten Google Meet. So she was a surprise reader, and that's a great way to introduce our first grade students to their kindergarten teachers. So to that end, we are working on plans for next year. We have the reopening committee that is established, and I'm meeting with teachers this week to start discussing class placement, which is extensive because we look at everything from the specifics on student performance academically, as well as their behavioral needs when we place students. So it's by no means random, and it takes a great deal we put a great deal of effort into it. Other than that, we continue to provide family support. So if you are struggling, we know that dynamics in families do change over time. So just know that we are here to support you and to please reach out. Our yearbooks were submitted for print, and that about wraps it up. Any questions?
I didn't want the echo. I just wanted to say, Kathy, first of all, your report, and the other board members can chime in. Your report was really incredibly thorough. And the one thing that I would say is a lot of that stuff, it would be great if I know there's probably a lot of privacy and all that with a lot of the work that the kids are doing. That's some just incredible stuff that people don't get to see. And when Dennis and I were talking today about how we can evolve back into board meetings in person, those are some of the stuff that if we could get that at board meetings and, it actually, gets those parents and also, because that's incredible stuff that's going on. And in this forum, which, who would believe that, that much stuff can be happening. So there really are some pluses for everything that we've gone through. And I think your staff and that building have done incredible work, and their videos are they're phenomenal. And you can see that there's fun there, there's life there's excitement, and then the teachers being into it. And the last thing I wanted to say is you mentioned it twice in there, it's the parent support. We've said this all along since this has begun. And I'm glad that, we keep repeating is that there's anyone who needs help, that the district is there to reach out. The district is there. And if there's anyone who knows any families who might be and have not been able to reach out, to please reach out, because the help is there, and we're more than anxious to make sure that everyone is getting the aid that they need. So thank you, Kathy. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other comments or questions for Ms. O'Hara?
Thank you.
That was easy. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks.
And that will bring up Mr. Flanagan.
Hello, Mr. Zambitz. Thank you to everyone at the Board of Education for allowing me to speak tonight. Thank you to Mr. Petrolek for giving me this opportunity. I have a few things I wanted to go over, a few that were in my board report and some other things that were not in the report, just to catch up to speed on. First is graduation. I know you probably read our plan. It's been posted to the website for graduation, and the plan really tries to leave open a lot of options to make sure we can celebrate our seniors' accomplishments. And at this time, I'm hoping to have some more information tomorrow for the community about the status of our June graduation. So we'll be hoping to be able to come up with a decision to allow people time to plan. We are moving ahead, however, with our 8th grade virtual moving up ceremony, which I've been communicating with our 8th grade families and reminding everyone that is listening out there, our 8th grade families that are listening out there, to please make sure you're completing your moving up slides. They're due by Wednesday, June 3rd. And so far, over half the class has submitted, so they're really doing well. And we know there's always a few we're going to have to maybe pick up the phone and talk to, and we'll get everything in. If a student does not complete their virtual moving up slide, they're still celebrated in the ceremony. It's just their name is announced, and instead of a photograph which they upload on their own, it would be the Chester Academy logo which comes up. So we've been trying to remind parents and students to get those photos in, or else they'll wind up with the logo, which is also very nice. And some people might be a little camera shy, so we always understand. Over the last 3 weeks, we've been working on locker pickup for items that were left behind in school lockers at Chester Academy. And this Wednesday will be our 4th and final locker pickup. In addition, on Wednesday, students are going to be able to pick up any items that were left in the band room. Mrs. Hysania will be in, and she'll be in the band room meeting students by the door to give them their musical instruments, as well as any medications that were left behind in the nurse's office. Mrs. Straub will be in. And we're working on, hopefully for next week, athletic locker pickup with Mr. Aguilar is helping organize that. So we're kind of closing the building in sections and making sure we can get everything back. And then we'll be looking ahead to that once we distribute everything we have in the building about getting back things. So we'll be coming up with plans for getting books back and library books and textbooks and all of those things. We continue to celebrate the class of 2020 throughout the school year. They certainly are amazing students, and they've been through a lot. As we continue to progress towards the end of the school year, we're excited to continue to do everything in our power to make our seniors, show our seniors just how special they are. On May 14th, which was the day of our scheduled prom, and some of you, I'm sure, participated or may have heard this around the community, we had our Making Some Noise for our seniors, which was supposed to be a 96-second event, but it really went on for quite a while, which was great. And people were out there showing their support. I was over in Whispering Hills, beeping my horn and saying hello, and seeing so many people that were out on the curbs and waving and saying hello. And teachers and different faculty members made it to all different neighborhoods throughout the community, and it was really nice. We also, on May 19th, over 30 staff members participated in distributing class of 2020 lawn signs to our seniors. We went to their houses to surprise them, and socially distant, of course. We showed up. We gave the parents a little heads up because we didn't want people not to be home or to be too surprised when someone was coming to their door. But for the students to be surprised, we showed up in their driveway, beeped our horns a little bit until we drew somebody outside, and then we kind of placed a lawn sign and just to show, once again, we're proud of them, and we want them to be proud to display that they're class of 2020 in Chester Academy out on their lawns. I'd really like to thank Jenny McKenzie and Nina Caraba for all of their help in coordinating that. Nina's knowledge of Chester and all the neighborhoods really helped break down who to go to what house and not to kind of keep us all organized. And then last week, finally, my last thing is we celebrated a virtual Spirit Week, which we talked about wanting to do a little something. And so we had 5 different days, and it even started on Memorial Day with a Memorial Day Monday theme for students to send in theme pictures of Memorial Day. We had Thankful Thinking Tuesday, Wishful Wednesday, for if they were wishing they could be somewhere else, where would it be? And students sent in pictures. Throwback Thursday with some pictures from their younger days and their Chester schooling, and Flashy Friday, where they were wearing their Hambo gear with pride. And I'd like to thank Student Council and especially Michaela DiCurcio for really taking the lead in this initiative. Each day photos were sent in by students throughout our district to Michaela and the student government. And I believe it was Michaela who really kind of took everything together and created those videos, which were posted to the Hambletonian WHQ Facebook page. So thank you so much to all our students that participated. And on that note, I'm here for any questions.
I don't have any questions, John, but I want to tell you that, yes, the drive-through was amazing. You guys did a great job. But the signs putting out was really nice, and that all your staff got involved in that and were running around like crazy, and then posting it all. All the postings on social media were great.
Yep.
You know, that really, it says a lot to people, and that's where people get to see it. It's a lot of people who might be working out of town, not getting to see that going on, but I got to see it live happening. Yeah, looking for the houses and stuff. It was great. I thought it was touching too. It was nice that you all got involved in it and made it happen. And we appreciate all the hard work you're doing on, I know we're going to talk about it as we go forward, graduation, but I know that this is not easy, and I know that you guys are looking at every single option. So I appreciate everything that you're doing to make that happen.
There's nothing like the look on the kids' faces when you pulled in the driveway and your principal sitting there in his pickup truck beeping the horn. They come outside, they have no idea what's going on. So it's really it was nice, and to see the families and to see them with their parents and their and their their dogs, and it was really cool. So
Nicely done.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Flanagan?
None for me.
I just have a quick question. How is the locker pickup going?
Well, we've been going on. We still have probably about, I would say, about 50 bags left at the high school.
Okay.
A lot of the lockers were empty, especially at the high school level.
Yeah.
The middle school level, they were pretty full, and we've gotten a steady flow of traffic. But tomorrow's the last week. We posted it for 4 weeks, so we anticipate that there may be, or not tomorrow, I'm sorry, Wednesday. So we anticipate there might be a few more people coming on Wednesday. But we're going to keep everything and store it, because over the summer, people might call and say, oh, yeah, I didn't make it. And we'll schedule times for them to come. We're going to keep everything in the order it was. We have it bagged up. Mr. Freeze and the Buildings and Grounds teams did a great job bagging the lockers. And we've had Mr. Wessenberg, Mrs. P from the library, Lynn Brown, and Amy Z from the, they're my locker distribution team. And so we're slowly working to get everyone their things back.
Okay, great.
I know, Dawn, that was a good question, because that was one of the more repeated comments on social media, where parents might have missed their time, or they were at something and they couldn't get to that day. So
Yeah, I didn't personally go. I mean, my daughter claims there's nothing in the locker, so that's why I was just curious.
she's probably right.
Yeah, I don't even-
High school lockers.
Yeah.
And we initially did phase it out to try and do different floors on different days. And then after the first week, we anticipated Buildings and Grounds would need a little longer to clean out the lockers, so we wanted to get rolling. But after the first week, they had everything cleaned and bagged and organized.
Yep.
And so we just opened it up to everybody. So it's been, anybody can come on that time. And if somebody really needs something, and like I said, once we get past that day, we'll just set up a time for them and set up a place for them to get it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And that's the sports lockers also?
Sports lockers, we're working with Mr. Aguilar, so I'm hoping to have information out on that for a pickup for next week. We just don't have the exact day and time yet.
Thanks.
okay, thank you, Mr. Flanagan. Nice job, sir.
Thank you.
That will bring us. Is there anything else for a presentation, Mr. Petrolak?
Yes, tonight is our legal budget hearing, and at our last meeting, we did a summary of the proposed budget for the next school year. We would like to repeat that presentation, and we did post that we were accepting questions from the public or comments. My understanding is that we have not received any questions or comments from the public. Is that correct, Ms. Lees?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll proceed with the budget presentation. And Mr. Everett, Mr. Brennan will be making that presentation tonight.
Mr. Brennan.
Boy, I'm sorry about that. I had it off of mute, went to the presentation and realized I was still on mute. So if you bear with me a second, I'm going to try this again. Seems to be our night for technical difficulties.
It's understandable. Here it comes.
Okay, well, I think I want to start right where the rubber meets the road. This is our budget in a nutshell. As we've talked about, the primary factors within this budget presentation and this prepared budget is that taxes will be going down from the current year levels. This budget proposal also maintains the educational programs and is under the cap. We talked about the cap being actually below the amount that we were able to raise for this current year by about $1,000. Now, with some other factors, including the state aid from building aid that came from funding projects early, we actually can support a budget to budget growth of almost 3% with that no increase in taxes. And as you see from this screen, the detailed calculations, this is what people refer to as the 2% tax cap, but this being a very unusual year, didn't produce an increase of 2% to the levy, but actually produced a decrease. And these are the factors including pilots from the industrial park and certain tax calculations from the capital levy. And that would be our capital project cost versus any state aid we get for those. And this is what it's going to look like. The chart below is for the town of Chester. Because that is the vast majority of our district, we focus on what the impacts are there. And you'll see that the average home in Chester will see a decrease in taxes of $17 next year. And please, if anybody has a question or concern, just jump in. I'm able to see you a little bit on delay over here, but we'll try to hit any questions that the board or well, I guess the board has at this point. The expense-driven aids. Now, we are planning for every eventual change that might come down afterward, but our budget proposal, again, maintains the programs for the students. Certain expense-driven aids are increasing. That would be for special ed, reimbursement for building aid, and any BOE services. You'll see the top line, a decrease of $1,000 from our property taxes. And a very substantial increase in state aid, the total there being $780,000. That we hope is going to be what continues through the year, but we are still developing plans to react to any changes from the legislature. The total of the budget, $29,613,452 is an increase of 2.98%. And again, we've talked here about a budget gap. If during the year there are mid-year reductions, we are going to have to adjust to that primarily on the expenditure side of the budget by reducing our costs because our tax levy is capped. So any changes to state aid will have to be reflected in the expenditures. The graphical view of this, you'll see that most of our revenues come from the property tax. Second to that being state aid in red. And expenditures. We've talked over and over that we are a people-driven business. And you'll see that the huge piece there is direct student programs and the costs associated with that. That includes the teachers, the transportation, all of those things that directly impact the students. The capital function supports the buildings, the cleaning, the lighting, the heating, and of course then the smallest section is the administrative section to oversee all of those functions. Now there's been a little talk here about a contingent budget. What happens if we receive one more no vote than we received yes votes? Well, at that point, and I'm going to say this, that these three options are based on current law, that we would be able to vote again on the same proposal, vote again on an amended budget, or go directly to a contingent budget. Those first two options would be very difficult based on the consolidated timeline, because our school year starts July 1. So we would have to find a way to restructure a budget, get the information out, redo the ballots. But because the tax levy would be capped at the current year, we would actually, in a no vote, be able to raise additional funds over what this proposal calls for. I got ahead of myself with the next page. So as I've mentioned, this is a very unusual year, and the fact that we don't see an increase from the tax levy limit, the no vote would actually produce a budget that could have a higher tax levy than what's proposed. There are other rules if the budget is defeated that restrict equipment purchases, targeted salaries, administrative to program ratios, and also bus routing might be affected. The other thing that I don't show on the screen is that this would also affect the community use of our buildings, our grounds, and all of the features that we do. And that use can be pretty substantial from season to season. Now the budget vote, and at this point I'm going to try to come out of this presentation and just explain that the budget vote is new to us. This is a process that's taken a huge amount of effort from Ms. Lease and all of the folks that have come in to help us with this. We were able to assemble 4,500 ballots along with all of the supporting materials, get those out to the voters in plenty of time to review the options, fill it in, and mail it back to us. But again, I know Mr. Petrolak's going to re-emphasize this, that process, those ballots have to get back to us by 5 p.m. on June 9th in order to count. And I know that he's put together a video for the community on cutting through the intricacies of how to fill that out, how to assemble the package, and how to get it back to us. So with that, I'll pause for any questions.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Brennan?
I have nothing. Thank you, Aaron.
Nope, nothing for me.
Keith?
Not from me. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for bearing with me during this difficult season.
Yeah, Aaron, I wouldn't let you off the hook that easy. I would just ask you, if you could, to repeat the first page of your presentation, which you probably know by heart. You know, the one with the 3 check marks.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Frank, and you'll notice that, and I hope everybody here's gotten their Hambletonian news in the mail, and you'll see that under the header is these 3 bullets. Ah, you did, great. So those 3 check marks are repeated right there. The proposed budget decreases the tax levy, maintains the educational program, and is still under the cap. So, Mr. Sambeth, thank you for bringing that up.
Well, I think it's important. You know, every year we talk about a budget in a nutshell, and you know, this year of all years, which seems crazy to me, that it's never been more clear. and our options in the budget and the hard work that you have put in to getting us to this point with all the things we've done, not ever knowing that we'd be in the middle of a pandemic, not ever knowing, while New York State is always difficult to be dealing with when it comes to school budgets and in their annual budget, but, this was crafted before that, and we've still been able to tweak, and you've been able to look at every aspect of it. And we're still, I want to just repeat to everyone, we're still under the concern of New York State and their reductions that I heard the governor say, they may have to do, Mr. Petrolak, you can comment, 1 or 2, we don't know what it's going to be, and we've prepared ourselves for those kind of contingencies. So we really appreciate all the hard work that went into this, Aaron. It's really incredible that we could be in this position. And I just hope it translates to everyone that, this budget passing is a much better position for the district than if it doesn't. It better than any other year that I've ever been on the board. So,
and thank you and the board for the support and the if nothing else, the moral support to be behind the efforts that we've been putting forward. And you mentioned the information from the governor. That's the closest thing we've seen to actual guidance during this whole process. It's almost like somebody sitting back and tweeting all of his plans.
Right. It really is, because we never, in other years, that always could happen, but we wouldn't know about it. So the one good thing is that we can plan for that. And my fear is that that's going to become our reality. And that's my concern. So that's why I feel, a past budget, it's really essential. And I know, as board members, our job is to present and to tell everyone how we view it and why it's a benefit for the district. It's never been more clear than this year. And
as long as we stick to just the facts and present that without taking a position, we'll be sure to get that message out. And luckily we got ahead of these things so quickly. I wish the Hamiltonian News could have gotten out before the ballots, because I'm sure people voted before they really knew what they were voting on. But the timelines that are set in law still exist, and we couldn't get it out any earlier.
Correct. So any other comments or questions for Mr. Brennan?
No, great job as always.
Okay. Thank you again, Aaron. Mr. Petrolak, did you have any comments on that, or is everything you have for roundtable?
I'll comment on that along with my roundtable comments, if that's okay.
That's perfect. Okay.
Okay, so just to amplify on a few things, because of the COVID situation, the state is looking at a significant financial shortfall, and there is a possibility of cuts to state aid to municipalities and school districts. So the budget that we have is based on the best facts as we have them right now. However, if we do have a cut in state aid, we will need to make reductions to this budget. Unfortunately, we don't have that information right now, and we are required to move forward with the vote next week. But we do have contingency plans in place in the event that we need to roll those out. So I do want to amplify a few points on the budget. Most importantly, as everybody knows, and we've discussed on several occasions, all voting is done by absentee ballots. The ballots must be received by the district clerk by 5 p.m. on June 9th. And I just want to point out for everyone that does not mean postmarked by June 9th, but rather they must be in the hands of a district clerk by 5 p.m. on June 9th. The district has a P.O. box to which those ballots are being mailed. And the arrangements that we have are that the district clerk will be picking up the ballots at 5 p.m. on June 9th. So members of the public are encouraged to get their ballots out into the mail as soon as possible if they have not already done so. The post office does recommend that the public give at least a week or 5 days to allow for any weather contingencies that may occur. Also, we've heard that there have been some concerns about voter privacy regarding the oath envelope. So I just want to take a moment and go over that process. When the voters get their ballot, they will also receive something called an oath envelope. And that envelope is used to put the completed ballot into. So after the person casts their vote on the ballot, they place that into the oath envelope, seal the oath envelope, and then date and sign the oath envelope. And then that gets enclosed into a business reply envelope that comes back to the district. When the district gets that business reply envelope, we open it and remove the sealed oath envelope. And then the district clerk or other election officials will verify that there's a voter's name on the envelope, that the envelope has a valid signature and date, and that the envelope is signed. And if it meets those requirements, then that is considered to be a verified ballot, but it remains in the sealed envelope until 5 p.m., after 5 p.m. on the day of the election, of the vote, which is June 9th. So the process for removing the ballot from the sealed oath envelope is that election officials will open the oath envelope and remove the folded ballot. And at that point, the envelope is removed from the table and the folded ballot is placed into a ballot box. So the identity of the ballot is removed from the identity of the oath envelope. The envelopes are removed, the ballots go into a ballot box, and then they get selected, and then they get removed and counted from that point. So there is voter privacy, and this procedure is outlined on our school district website. Mr. Brennan made reference to a video. So if you go on our website, you'll see a link to a video, and that will review for voters a process for voting by absentee ballot, and also the procedure that we will follow to guarantee voter privacy. Are there any other questions or comments on the school board election and vote?
No, but I want to thank putting together that video. I think it really helped. It made it straightforward. It was clear cut on how to, vote. And I know, some people vote by absentee regularly, but, this is an unusual circumstance that all the districts were put in this year. And I think we've really handled it in a professional way. It got done in a timely manner. The time, like Erin had spoke before, everything that's happened to school districts this year has condensed the window where everything has to happen in a short amount of time. And I commend all of you to getting the ballots out, getting them stuffed and out was a really giant task that got done incredibly quickly and out into the mailboxes. So, there's a big hats off that got done, because I know a lot of districts are struggling, and we got it done. Like everything else that's happened this year, we found a way to make it happen. And it really speaks to all the people that work in the district to make that happen. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you for saying so. So moving on, I would like to give an update on our reopening committee. As you know, we've established a district-wide reopening committee to study the various concerns and issues related to the eventual reopening of school. Since we last met, New York State has been developing a template for school districts to follow for them to detail their reopening plans for the public and also for state approval. We are expecting that New York State will roll out that template later this month or in the beginning of July. And then we will be required to submit that comprehensive reopening plan to New York State during the month of July. We do not have specific dates when it is due. But as I said, we do have a stakeholder committee, which includes at least 21 representatives from parents, students, teachers, staff, Board of Education, health professionals, bus professionals, food service professionals, and all of these folks are working together to identify any issues and to do the research on best practices regarding the safe reopening of schools. So that work is happening in earnest right now. And we understand how important it is for parents to know what to expect in the fall. And we will be sharing information with parents and the community as soon as we can. But right now we are waiting for guidance from the state on specifics that will be required for our reopening plan. So right now we have subcommittees of the larger committee. The next full meeting of our reopening committee is this Friday. All right, moving forward in next item in the consent agenda tonight is a revised school calendar. And that school calendar is revised to reflect changes that were made due to the closing of schools back in March. And I just want to point out that that calendar will reflect a loss of spring break, during which we continue to provide instruction, a loss of any unused snow days, the loss of the Friday before Memorial Day, which was originally scheduled as a day off and became an instructional day. And as a result of these changes, our last day of new instruction will be on June 16th. But that being said, students will have several days after June 16th to get any missing assignments or additional work to their teachers. And echoing the comments from Mrs. Sambetz and Mr. Flanagan earlier tonight, I want to acknowledge and thank parents and family members and caregivers for partnering with us and for assisting us with remote learning. Our teachers have worked very resourcefully and creatively to put together remote lesson plans, but without having parents or caregivers on the other end, ensuring that the students are attending to those lessons are meaningless. So it's created special bonds and partnerships with some of our parents. And as I said, I want to echo previous comments to acknowledge the efforts of parents and caregivers. As Mr. Flanagan said earlier, our plans for graduation and moving up ceremonies are moving forward, and there will be an announcement tomorrow about the high school graduation. And finally, in my report tonight, I'm recommending to the board that the board schedule a meeting following the budget vote, preferably the following day, June 10th, for the purposes of certifying the vote. And my recommended time would be 7 p.m. on June 10th.
Okay, I'm going to need a motion for that meeting.
I'll make the motion that the board meet on June 10th to certify the election results.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So at least we took care of that one out of that consent agenda. Oh, that wasn't in the consent agenda then. So yeah, that'll work fine.
Okay, and that concludes my report for tonight.
Okay, is there anything else for roundtable tonight? I did not have anything. Surprising. Nothing else for roundtable?
No.
Okay. With that, then I'm going to need a motion for our consent agenda 5.
I'd like to make a motion that the board accept consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.11.
Second,
Is there any discussion?
nope.
So, one at a time, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that would take care of that. And that really brings us to the end for a motion to adjourn. Before we do, I just want to once again, Mr. Petrolak, thank you and the entire staff for all the hard work that's gone in. I know we're trying to wrap up and everyone is everything is up in the air on a lot of stuff with graduation, but everyone is working on it thoroughly and we're looking at every angle, like Mr. Flanagan said. And we're going to do what's right for our students in Chester. We are obviously going to have to follow whatever the current law or order is that's given down to the state. But, you know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that, you know, we'll have whatever it's going to be. It'll be the best thing that we can do for these students and they deserve it. So once again, I just want on behalf of the board, appreciate all the hard work on every aspect that has gone on from September with our computer systems from that virus through this one. And as we wrap up the year, it has really been an incredible effort by everyone in this district. It's made some of these things that I thought were going to be a giant nightmare really have been managed by people and professionals that all year long have gotten things done. So we really appreciate your hard work. And
Thank
with
you very
that,
much.
I will need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that'll be a wrap. So thank everyone in the public for viewing. Thank you to the board, our administrators for giving your time tonight and to Mr. Spence and Mr. Patel for making this happen every week. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Nighty night, Rabbit.
Good night, all.
Good job, Dennis.
Thank you.
We could talk tomorrow, whatever, if there's
Yeah.
anything to talk
Okay,
about.
great.